This brings us to the second panel discussion. For online participants, please feel free to scan the QR code on your screen to raise your questions over there. Thank you for your participation. It is our great honor to have Professor CHUNG Wang Leung Thomas, Associate Professor, School of Architecture, the Chinese University of Hong Kong, to be the moderator of the panel discussion. Thomas leads a multidisciplinary team with expertise in architecture, anthropology, geography, and life sciences, and is consolidating a CUHK research hub focusing on countryside city regeneration. Recent and ongoing projects include Project Plum Growth, Phases 1 and 2, experimental restorations in Mui Chi Lam from valley to plain, Phase 1 funded by the CCO. Let us welcome Professor CHUNG, please. And the panelists include Professor Ferrato, Associate Professor, School of Architecture, the Chinese University of Hong Kong, and Director of Condition Lab. Next we have Dr. Lau Fong Ha Leslie, Head of Art Promotion Office, Leisure and Cultural Services Department. Dr. Lau, please. We also have Ms. Wang Ying K, Ada, JP, Chairperson of Make a Difference Institute, Chairperson of Good Lab Foundation. Ms. Wang, please. Mr. Chan Chi Yun Paul, co-founder and CEO of Walk in Hong Kong. Welcome, Paul. Professor Tan Man Bun Stephen, BBS, Head of Countryside Conservation Office. Welcome once again, Professor Tan. We also have Professor Wang Weijian with us online. A special thanks to Professor Wang because he's now in the US. It's already in the midnight time. Thank you so much, Professor Wang, for joining us today. Thank you. May I pass the mic to Professor CHUNG now? Over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think this afternoon we have had two very, very rich panels with very, very rich kind of stories and examples, and I think they are kind of real pearls in their two main topics. The first panel had about art, architecture, landscape, and community. We had Kokpo vision from Professor Weijian Wang, talking about his strategy and acupuncture kind of overall multidisciplinary vision. Then we had Professor Peter Ferrato, his living heritage project in Hunan, and amazing kind of architecture and how it changed the community. We also had Dr. Leslie Lau from APO talking about real amazing projects, inspiring projects from Japan, but also in Hong Kong, right? So that was the first panel, just a quick summary. And then the second panel on mainly kind of stories and journeys. I think more of a kind of software community side for Ada Wong's Rural Commons, and also Paul's kind of cultural tourism journeys. I think Professor Stephen Tang's kind of wrap up on CCO's work so far. It's kind of very inspiring, and kind of it leaves not much room for much more discussion, seemingly. But maybe I ask everyone the kind of question, a kind of double question. What was it? Was there any kind of most memorable moment or challenge of either things not working in your experience in the countryside, just like maybe what Stephen was saying, or something unexpected that really kind of pushed the project forward in your experience? And then for your own projects, what would be the immediate ongoing and next steps? So maybe I ask Weijian to answer first. Can we? Oh, we can see Weijian. Sorry. Or if there's something that you didn't manage to say in your first presentation.
I think to me it's great to see, and everyone has different approaches a different perspective or a different stage of thinking on these issues. And of course, examples quoted are also different places, China, Japan, or Hong Kong. And to me, the most important thing for us to think about is still what can we do on these rural villages in Hong Kong. Are we to preserve or are we to activate? This inevitable conflict there that we have to make decision and how to do it. This seems to be still issues that wait for us to discuss, to negotiate. For example, agriculture. This was agricultural land. Human being went into the natural land and cultivate into agricultural land 200 years ago. And then for historical reasons that nature comes back. And now are we to, so when we talk about architecture, agriculture, what kind of agriculture are we thinking? If we are talking about Hong Kong agricultural policy, are they on this very sort of ecological sensitive site, or are they to be developed in other places of new territory? These are the thinking that we should really think about. Those beautiful artifacts, traditional building there, are we to preserve status quo, or are we to restore? Are we to bring in what degree of intensity of activities? Hotel, tourism, what degree is it?
So it's more like a ongoing.
I mean, to me, these are okay. I'll shut up. To me, these are the issues that are critical for the future.
Because it's ongoing, right? As you said, we are always adapting, and then also needing other disciplines. Maybe we can move on to what Peter. What are your thoughts? Most memorable moment and next steps.
I think I must confess that I'm not an expert. I'm completely an outsider to the topic of the countryside, to the topic of Chinese architecture, to the rural condition. And I think that's very important for me, to acknowledge where you don't know. And what I've learned is, coming from practice, being trained in design, I've realized that an incredible story is that we have to listen to people. We have to listen to how the people can change the place. And even more to listening to people, we have to listen to our students. I've learned more from the students than I've taught them. And I think if we're able to be humble as designers, then we are mediators. And as designers, then we can help. I very much believe that the future of the countryside is contemporary. I don't believe that we have to go back. I come from Italy, where you can't change anything, and it's the paralysis that is very difficult to live in. And I think the things that we've tried to do in Hunan is really to respect the heritage, but make it contemporary, make people proud, and show the local people that their traditions are not dead, and design can help them. And make use of the skills that we have. We're in an architecture school, and design can help that and translate that. So that's the lesson that I've learned.
Think outside of the box and do impact investment. That's Peter. Great. How about Leslie? I think you wanted to say something about bringing the rural back to the city, or the urban renewal symbiosis.
Yes. This conference keep talking about countryside, but for me, I think we can work in parallels, not just doing things in countryside. Particularly for me, I am an art curator. I operate 2 art spaces in the city center. Besides those art festivals that I have shown you, I just think that most populations live in the city centers, and Hong Kong people are always very busy. Perhaps people like me and art curators, maybe some other NGOs or offices as well. We can do things in parallels in the city centers, such as some things that not necessarily to be exactly countryside, but something related to nature, greenings, just as the projects, 廢柴不廢, I just showed you, using some natural waste and then turn it to use some upcycling waste, turn it into useful things to showcase the ideas of something related to countryside. And also besides, I have an art space called OI, and over 17% of the entire space is outdoor areas. So of course, I will display some outdoor art display outside, but we deliberately select some those art piece which can connect to the nature or greenings. For example, right now we are featuring an art piece by the very famous U.S. architect Elizabeth Diller, Joyful Trees, which is 16 7-meter high trees, but with 3 of them can turn automatically from day to night, which will inspire the city people about keep inspiring them, although they most of the time they are still they are in this doing their works, daily life in the city center. So that's what I think we can do it vice versa.
So both ways, yeah, bringing art out to the countryside or vice versa, as you said. How about Ada, the power of stories to inspire younger generation?
Well, the most memorable part must be in meeting people and talking to different people. And it is so surprising that the young people didn't stop during the pandemic. In fact, when we said, okay, we're going to stop this weekend activity, and they secretly went and hiked 2 hours to Lai Chihuahua themselves. And they continue to talk to villagers. So, that's the passion I see. But a challenge is that, I'm an advocate, I'm a social innovator, and to me, these sort of advocacies are lifelong. But this is always a project that has an end date. And so the website has an end date, I hope not. We are continuing to build it, I hope. But like the project that we worked with Leslie in in Chunlong, in the Chunlong village, there was an end date, and we were so sad when we had to leave because we made friends with the villagers. So my question always to the team and to myself is that, how could we add value and what are we leaving behind, and how could we, we're not just consumers taking the stories out of people, but what else can we do? So it is this question that I hope that we can bring a project like Rural Common to the future. And I can see a lot of innovations in cultural tourism innovations and in a lot of innovative projects that will lead us to net zero, as Stephen Tang said.
So what's the next step for Paul?
The most difficult but memorable part is definitely the community screening in Lai Chihuahua that we organize, and it's particularly illuminating in the sense of how we go through the difficulties and find a way to turn a crazy idea that's to like doing a community screening is quite crazy idea, and then we basically realize it step by step. So the first thing is we need to know how this idea is received by the local community, and therefore we sang out to CHUNG, CHUNG lab, right? Okay, and we sang out to the village representative, and sang out the idea, and then we are very glad that it's so well received, and then it's a very great idea. Okay, but then the next step is how we can implement it. So like tons of difficulties, how to arrange the seats, how to arrange the delivery of the equipment, and we need to source different solutions. So finally, we need to move a very heavy hi-fi It's about 60 kg, I think. And we took the water taxi run by the Hong Kong Countryside Foundation. Yeah, and like in that morning, it should be me and another friend who moved the things, but my other friend can't work up on time, so therefore I need to like move those. Ferry everything by alone, and with the help of a helper. There's a farmer in Lai Chi Wo. So and we signed out to Winnie's team, and also with the help of the Countryside Foundation to deal with the Hakka houses accommodations, and therefore, and it involved quite a lot of collaboration to make these things work, and therefore it is also a very good experience for us to say that in order to make things happen in countryside, that would be the approach.
Mm-hmm. Very collaborative, yes. And how about Stephen? What you already mentioned the next steps. Are there any other bigger visions for CCO?
Well, I think we are duty bound to break the norms. Our office was set up about 5 years ago. If everything goes normal, we should not have been established. Our office is established to challenge what is happening now, even within the government. I mentioned on the licensing guide, we have to challenge every department on why this is required in the countryside. But we are based on the basic criteria of safety and health and hygiene in the villages. Without compromising those, can we do something in other ways, not following the current rules, or have a different interpretation? Another example I've mentioned about the toilet that achieve advancing net zero. Starting from scratch, we hope we could do it, but we are not sure. But every professional, every government official we met say, forget about it. It's never been done before. You won't be successful. Just don't waste your time. So we try to challenge the norms and work it out our hard way. So with the success, at least on paper, and at least accredited by Hong Kong GBC, we can do it. So this gives us confidence, like in Lim Chiu Ying's Hong Kong Countryside Foundation's case. He told me, well, Stephen, I just forget about applying license. I will operate it illegally. I'll risk. I say, let's try, let's do it. We have determined to do it. If we can't do it, and if you can't do it with such a big support from Jockey Club, if we can't do it with the support from top government policy, then just forget about it. So we are duty bound to deliver with new rules and challenge the old norms.
Wow, that's great, Stephen. So if the CCO is always challenging the norms, then all of us, right, should be also doing that. I think it's time for any questions from the floor, if there are any, because there are also some. Yes, please. There are also some online.
Hi everyone, I'm Liz. I'm from Kaduri Farm and Botanic Garden from the Fauna Conservation Department. I'm a conservation officer there. And my question is probably quite broadly applied maybe to a lot of the speakers today. I very much enjoyed it, thank you. But it's actually to do with the title of the conference, really, about protecting the natural ecology, that half. And I'd just like to touch a bit more on that, because obviously living in villages, you're pretty much living with nature, aren't you? And I'm interested to learn a bit more about if you've had any conflicts with villages in terms of incorporating nature. I hear there's been a lot of baseline surveys. People go out and actually want to see what ecology is there, what wildlife, as well as the landscape. And I'm just interested to know a bit more about that side of it from the wildlife perspective.
Okay, so we actually had more of those in the earlier session, but since time is running out a little bit, very quick responses from anyone, if any. Yes, I think that because this morning's session really focused on the ecology and the agriculture, whilst this afternoon's more about architecture, art, and culture. But if anyone, I think we're all working, for the good of the countryside and never, to go against any, to be very destructive. Okay, yeah, please.
Maybe I simply answer. In fact, protecting, conserving ecology is our core duty. But that is bit by bit, and we have to protect the ecology. At the same time, we have to inject life into those villages. I remember hearing Lam Chiu-ying talk years ago. He said, when you go to the forest, you can't easily find a bird. But when you go to somewhere you can see birds, you know that there is life around. I always remember this idea. Well, we have to inject life first before we call ourselves protecting ecology. Like Lai Chi Wo, when there is life injected back to the village, we have a steady growth of biodiversity. So that is what we are doing.
Thank you, Stephen. I think because time is really running out now, probably have to wrap up this session, and maybe I ask every one of our panelists to give a kind of quick one-sentence key message or a hope and expectation for the coming 5 or 20 years, as Wei Jian put it, for countryside conservation in Hong Kong. If maybe Wei Jian can start first.
Well, I think we should do it small and do it slowly, do it sensibly. And that's exactly, I think, what CCO is supporting us to do now. So, thank you.
So, more of the good work.
Mine would be together with the people.
Thank you.
Mine would be, besides architect, more and more artists could participate in this countryside projects.
Yep, thank you.
I just want to quickly respond to this first question by using one word, co-creation. This question is about how could we extend impacts of achievements we have now. So we have popular movies, stories collected and restored village houses. So what's next? And I would say, let's co-create, because we don't know everything, and we have to admit that we don't know everything. But co-creation will bring us more inspiration.
Yeah, my keyword will be inspiration, so be prepared to be inspired by our countryside.
Great.
Well, talking about countryside, we are talking about the future. Youth is our future, and we have to work with the youth. We have to work with young people like what Ada mentioned. We have to inject new energy, new thoughts into our future.
Great. Thank you so much. Lots of hope for the future for our countryside. Thank you.
Thank you for the fruitful discussion. Would our panelists please take a group photo together? Would you please step forward? Professor Wang, would you please face your camera to face to the screen? Please join us. Let us keep our big smile. Is it a good idea? Ready? 3, 2, 1. Cheers! Thank you so much for your invaluable sharing. Thank you. Would you please be seated? Thank you, Professor Wang, once again. Thank you for joining us.